Hey there, and welcome to the Airlock Module Podcast. I am your host, Yuki Nishimura. Think of this show as a cozy little airlock, a place where we pause, connect, and step between two worlds, Earth and Mars, science and everyday life, life inside the habitat, and discoveries out on EVA. Each episode, I sit down with an analog astronaut or the amazing mission directors, engineers, scientists, support crews who make these simulations possible. Together, we share the real stories of what it's like to live and work in a Mars habitat and the surprising lessons it teaches us about living better here on Earth. Today on the Airlock Module Podcast, we're headed all the way up to Homer, Alaska, where the stars shine brighter, the northern lights dance across the sky, and yes, where there are alpacas in the backyard. My guest is Laura Reiske, a middle school math teacher, lifelong space enthusiast, and the chief of staff for the APUS Analog Research Group, the same organization where she and I both serve and even shared a mission together at the Space Analog for the Moon and Mars, or SAM, in Oracle, Arizona. Laura's story bridges the worlds of education and exploration. She's taught for nearly a decade, from special education to 7th grade math, all while pursuing her master's degree in space studies from the American Public University System. She's also an alum of NASA's Space Mission Concept Academy, where she served as deputy project manager for Team Sigma, helping design a spacecraft mission concept for an asteroid. In this episode, we talk about everything from growing up fascinated by black holes in the night sky to rediscovering her passion for space under the northern lights. Laura shares what it was like leading her first analog mission at SAM, commanding Team Red during a 5-day isolation study, from monitoring water levels to growing spirulina to sealing the habitat in full pressurization mode. And in one of the most powerful moments of the conversation, she opens up about experiencing a panic attack right before her first EVA and how her crew came together, grounding each other through breathing techniques they've learned in training. It's a conversation about leadership, teaching, teamwork, and rediscovering wonder, both in the classroom and under the Martian sky. So let's cycle the airlock and step inside with Laura Reiske. Hey, Laura.
Hi.
Tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're calling from, and what animal did you have at your wedding?
Okay. I'm Laura Reiske. I live in Homer, Alaska. I'm originally from Kansas, but we moved up here 11 years ago, which is kind of crazy. It doesn't feel like it's been that long. I'm a middle school math teacher. I teach virtually from home for a school in Alabama. I conduct most of my day on Central Time, and I work with 7th graders. But to get to your question, we got married in Kansas back in 2015, and we had alpacas at our wedding because my mom knew that I liked llamas and alpacas when I was younger, and I guess she really held on to that. And so she got us alpacas for our wedding.
That
And
is
to announce
such a cool
that,
story.
the DJ announced it, and then her and my dad walked out with 2 alpacas. She had come up to us being like, just act happy. If you don't want it, that's okay. But just act like you're really happy. They were a big hit, though. They were stand-in alpacas. We got our alpacas after we bought a house here, but it was
Wait, you
very
have
cool.
alpacas right now?
Yeah,
Wow. I don't think I knew that.
yeah. We
Crazy.
have 3 of them. They're not all the same ones that we started with, but we have 3, a male and 2 females. I don't know how she found them. You don't have to drive too far to get to, places where people have farms. And so there's plenty of farms around, and she just found somebody that had alpacas, and they would take them to events. And they had little like sunflowers around their necks that were made with alpaca wool, which my mom really liked. But yeah, it was just somebody that rented out their alpacas for events.
All right. What school did you go to? And you touched on it a little bit, but what do you do for work?
Currently, I'm attending American Public University. I'm working on a master's degree in space studies with a focus in aerospace. I earned my bachelor's degree in human development and education, so very different. And I earned that from Prescott College in Prescott, Arizona. I think I graduated in 2012 or 2013. But I teach from home as a middle school math teacher. I was a special education teacher for about 7 years at the high school here, a special ed resource teacher. And then I switched to teaching for this school, Alabama Connections Academy. I was a sped teacher there for a couple of years before I decided to make the transition to general ed math. I love math. And
Oh, you
I was
teach
at the point
math.
where I just really wanted to do math all day and not, I was a little burnt out on writing IEPs. So I made the switch. A spot opened up and I grabbed it. They call it Math 7, so it's just seventh grade math. Very similar to pre-algebra, basically.
Okay.
We're starting to talk about
Oh,
equations
yeah,
this week.
that's when the kids start to learn that there are letters in math.
Yes, yes.
How often do you hear 6, 7?
Surprisingly, I don't get it a ton, but that's only because I teach full time, but we only have live lessons like a few times throughout the week. So I'm not like on Zoom all day every day. But they will put it in the chat. Just a bunch of sixes and a bunch of sevens. I will say, being a teacher virtually, I feel like very out of the loop as far as like what's cool and what everybody is saying, because in the classroom, you hear it all the time. But now I don't. So it makes me feel kind of old.
What got you into space studies?
I've always been really interested in space. I wanted to do kind of everything growing up, and it was hard to decide what to go to school for. I was always really interested in psychology, so I ended up going that route. But I was always fascinated by space and like black holes and a lot of astronomy stuff.
Yeah.
Um, and then
Was
I
it Neil
didn't pursue
deGrasse
it.
Tyson?
Yeah, I used to watch, oh man, what channel was it? I
Is it
used to watch
Cosmos
shows
or
all the time about like space and, I really wanted to be like a theoretical particle physicist. I thought that would be like the coolest job ever. Um, but at the same time, there wasn't like the huge STEM push when I was in like middle school and high school that there is today, like to really get students into the science and math careers. So I didn't really know what I would do with astronomy. And like being a theoretical particle physicist is a mouthful. It would be very cool, but I was like, what do you do? What does that look like daily? And so I just wasn't super sure about it. And so I went to school for psychology and education, which has also been great. But moving to Alaska, I kind of got back into my passion for space because I live 18 miles out of town and it's not a big town, but we don't have um, a lot of light pollution here. And so, especially in the winter, like you can see tons of stars. I think you may have seen a picture that I took the other day with my phone that had like a ton of stars in the Andromeda galaxy. You could see it. And then seeing the northern lights, which are just always
how?
so beautiful
Yeah,
and
it
amazing.
this year it's been very active. We got to see the Northern Lights a couple of times here in Washington State, but it's always a hit or miss with our clouds. But
Yeah,
yeah.
it's I'm lucky for sure. I mean, sometimes I miss the northern lights because I'm sleeping and it's like 2 o'clock in the morning and I'm not waiting for like Facebook
Y-
notifications at 2 a.m. But
Yeah.
um, it is the other
You
night
also
we
work
had,
Central Time in Alaska.
yes,
So,
yeah. But because of that, the other night, I mean, it was a couple weeks ago now, but they came out really early. It was like 9 o'clock. And then when I woke up to teach, I was a Tuesday, I had to teach at like 6 a.m. They were still going, which was pretty
wow.
cool. So I got to like take a picture of them and show my kids and be like, this is outside, like
Oh,
literally right
cool.
now. But it's all of that that kind of like reignited my passion for space. In during the pandemic, we switched to being remote and I had way more time than I used to. And I was like, man, I really want to like go back and get a degree in it, even if I don't like use it right away or whatever. Like I just want to pursue that again. So I found APU, um, and I got an undergrad certificate in space studies because my bachelor is all, um, education and psychology. I wanted more STEM classes to back that up. I did the undergrad certificate in space studies and then started my master's.
How much more do you have of
A lot.
course?
I mean,
Yeah.
like maybe 7 classes right now. I started it like a year ago, but I took my first class for my master's and then I had to take a pause for a few months because my father passed away. So then I was in Kansas for a long time and just not a great time to
Mm.
be taking classes. And then I started up again that fall, but then we had the SAM mission. So then I took another little break because of that. So now I'm kind of finally at the point of just taking classes back to back.
Take us inside less space. What is it and how did you get involved in that?
So I found LaSpace, which is associated with NASA's Lucy mission. It's like they're part of their outreach program. So NASA missions have their public outreach that they do, and the Lucy mission has LaSpace, and they have a couple of different academies. One of them was the Mission Concept Academy, which is what I took, and that was fall of 2022. I had just recently gotten involved with ARG at the time. Somebody mentioned it in the like general chat and I was like, that sounds interesting. So I looked it up and then I applied and then I, got accepted to it and started a couple weeks later. But it's like a full semester. And what happens is you're placed with a team of people and you have basically a mission that you have to design. And so the prompt is different for every one of their sessions. And so for us, we had to design a spacecraft that was going to travel to an asteroid.
Hmm.
And so it takes you through the whole like first part of the NASA like project planning process. Um, we had to figure out the timeline and the budget and design the spacecraft and all this stuff. And like I said, I was just kind of getting back into my passion for space. So I was like, I have no idea what a lot of this means. The imposter syndrome was real. But there was
Are
also
you
a lot of people. Yeah.
are you assigned like an advisor, like somebody that works at NASA that can help you guys, or did they
So
just give you the prompt and then they expect you guys to figure out?
they have interns basically that are what's the word I'm trying to think of? I can't think of it, but they are
Like a
assigned
student
to
teacher?
different teams. Yeah, kind of. They're assigned to different teams to help them like work through the whole process. And so they might not be an expert on every single thing, but they have experience. They've done the space before and they can help talk you through the process and find resources. There's also weekly meetings. They have a speaker every week that comes in. One time it was the person who worked on the guidance and control system for the DART mission.
Oh,
Um,
cool.
he came and talked to us. Sometimes it's one of the like NASA space people that they work with ASU and they'll talk about like building your resume and things like that to help you like pursue a space career. But you also get to hear from a lot of like industry expert people. Um, so it's really interesting. I learned a ton, and they have different modules. You can learn like CAD software. You can even get like certified in it through them. Um,
Nice.
it's a lot of really good like hands-on experience in a distance setting, which is cool.
I think I read that you were a deputy project manager for Team Sigma. What what was your role with that?
So yeah, you have to right when you get your team, you kind of figure out who's going to do what, and there's a project manager. So if you think about like ARG and planning analog missions, like the flight directors, like that project manager, and then the deputy project manager is pretty similar to what like a, an assistant flight director would be, a
Mhm.
deputy flight director. So I was just helping make sure everybody was on time and helping them with their sections. We had to create this, I think it ended up being like a 116-page document um, about the
Wow.
mission. So, like making sure that everybody's on track with their different tasks, have people who are the engineers and the scientists, and they're designing, the payloads and the timeline and all of that. And so it's a lot of just managing people and helping wherever I could to make sure we did everything on time.
And did you? Like how did the project go? Did you guys get an A?
It was great. At the end, you have to present over Zoom. Basically, there's a panel that you present to, and you present your project and everything that went into it, and then you get feedback on it. Um, and it went really well. It was a lot of, um, it's time consuming, the Mission Concept Academy for sure. Um, I was working full time and doing that. And I would tell people it felt like a lot of being in college with like pulling all nighters, but you don't
Oh.
get like the fun part of being in college. You just get the work part. So it was a lot of very late nights, but it was hugely helpful and very worth it. But it went well. And now we have like this, product that we can show people in an interview or something. It's a lot of experience. The nice thing about LaSpace is it's a lot of experience that you don't get anywhere else. And people in the industry really like to see that on resumes. Have a lot of respect for the LaSpace program, and they will actively search applications for that word. Um,
Mm,
it's nice. It's nice there too.
nice. All right. How many missions did you support before signing up for your first mission?
I always have to count this every time. Let's I want to say it was 7. I think Sam was my 8. We have our 2 Ilma missions every year, spring and fall, and I came in right before 3I started in the fall. Um, and I was part of the communications team at the time, and so I was helping with creating all of the social media posts, and that's how I supported the first mission. And then for 4I ended up being the assistant flight director, but I got to go through that whole planning process for the first time, which was cool. And now I've supported all the way through 9I, um, and then the MDRS mission and the Jules Verne mission. And Sam was my first as a crew member, which was very exciting.
What emotions were going through your mind leading up to Ingress?
Yeah, um, it was very exciting, but also very nerve-wracking, especially being the crew commander. And it's like, it all falls on you if it goes well or doesn't. But I also had like the best crew ever. No offense to your crew. Your crew was awesome too. But you're also like an honorary part of of our crew, I feel like. So um, but it was awesome. I had the best crew, and I was excited and just really nervous at the same time, like through the whole planning process, probably.
All right. You touched on it a little bit, but before we go into the next set of questions, I wanted to share with the listeners that Laura and I conducted the mission together at SAM in Oracle, Arizona. However, we were split into 2 separate teams of 4 crew members, where I was on Team Blue and she led Team Red. Team Blue ingress for 5 days, and then Team Blue passed the baton over to Team Red for another 5-day mission. Most of the experiments continued on, but there were a couple that were unique to each. And for a little bit more information on SAM, SAM is a pressurized habitat with a real airlock where if you open it without the proper sequence, the door would blow open. With that, what were some of your experiments at SAM?
So I supported the spirulina research. We had our like 4 main projects, our big projects that each crew member was assigned to. And we were assigned those leading up to the mission so that we could become fully aware of everything and basically be the lead on that project. So I was part of the spirulina study, growing spirulina in flasks and doing cell counts and all sorts of stuff. Um, that was what I took the lead on, but I also had a communications project that I have run on multiple missions We did that with both crews. It was unique because we had mission control too. Um, and then we had, Ada and I with a food project, and we had all sorts of things. We had the soup project and the drone project you all did. We didn't really do that, but it was interesting. But four main projects that were going on.
Yeah, if I remember correctly, it was the spirulina,
Electrolysis,
electrolysis, thank you, and then the borax,
the brick project.
the brick project,
Yeah. Then, yeah, Ada and I's food project
food
and
project.
Keston's soup project.
Yeah, oh yeah. I want to talk about the uniqueness of SAM. What were some of the things that you had to monitor at the habitat outside of the science experiments?
So for Sam, we were taking data for them every day. They have sensors in each part of the habitat that's reading like humidity. And I actually have all of our data from that mission. It's CMOC is their system that they use, and so mission control was monitoring it too. But we got CO2 levels,
Temperature,
humidity, temperature. Um,
water level.
the water level was like a big thing for our crew because the first day we realized we're supposed to report the water level, but there's not like a bunch of marks on the tank. There's like 25 and then 50. And so the first morning, I think it was, Gilbert and I were trying to figure out how do we give them an accurate measure of how much water there is. We had to like make a ruler on a clipboard using a pencil and the sewing tape
Mhm.
ruler that was down in the lung. We had to like transfer that to a clipboard and then do a lot of measurements and calculations. But that was like a very exciting part of the mission for our team was
Yeah,
me and Gilbert figuring that out.
because each team, Team Blue and Team Red, each got 50 gallons. When we were handing the hab over to you guys, I believe we left you with little over 50 because we were also at the time using condensation for not for drinking water, but for hydroponics, and so we weren't taking water out of the water tank. On that note, you and your crew were given 50 gallons of water to start with, which had to be used for drinking, flushing, washing, cooking, and for experiments like the hydroponics. Did you guys run out?
No, we had enough water. We were trying to be super conservative with it, which Aiden and I was really excited about. That was like one of her things was how little could we use. And of course we were using condensation with the hydroponics and stuff too, but we wound up being okay on water.
Nice, nice.
Yeah, we would empty the air conditioners, dehumidifiers. We would empty those pretty regularly, and so we were able to get a decent amount of water that way.
What did you guys eat at Sam? What
So
were you guys cooking in there?
it was all dehydrated foods, and the food project that was going on, it was all plant-based. One of the person who was conducting that study, she's vegan and she was on my crew. And fortunately, she makes incredible food, and so her and Keston ended up being like the chefs, which she wanted to. We kept being like, you don't have to cook every meal, but also, if Gilbert and I cook, it's not going to be like as fancy as what you all are making. And she was like super happy to make food, and they made like really delicious food. They had a cake one night with some leftover bread that Keston had made, and there was like chocolate, and it was really good. And so I ate very well. Lots of greens from the hydroponics too. I didn't know dehydrated food could be that delicious. I think if it was
Yeah.
just me and dehydrated food, it wouldn't be that delicious, but Ada and I is really good with it.
Yes, you and your 3 mission specialists conducted a Habitat Mode 3 experiment. Tell us about that experiment and what did you learn?
That was another highlight for us aside from the water, the water measuring. So mode 3 was a fully sealed and pressurized habitat. So we plugged up all the places where fresh air could come in. And the lung which we were measuring the height of every day to make sure it was just the right distance off of the ground to keep everything pressurized. We were measuring that to see kind of how quickly it was dropping with everything fully sealed. Ideally, it would take a long time before you would need to open anything back up. And when we did this, we got permission from Kai, the director, to go mode 3 and take some data for him. And he said to data every 10 minutes would be great, but once an hour, that's fine for 3 or 4 hours. And so I was like, all right, guys, we're taking data every 10 minutes. um, because if that would be useful to them, then I want to take data every 10 minutes. It was a lot of running back and forth, and we had like a whole system, but we were keeping an eye on the CO2 levels, the lung height, and temperature and everything in the test module, which is where all the greens are in a lot of the experiments, and then in the lung itself. And so we ended up doing that for about 4 hours, I think, of taking data every 10 minutes. We could have gone for quite a few hours longer. I know they had sealed up a bunch of leaks before that. And so I think in the end, it was dropping a little faster than they wanted it to, but it was good data for them to have. And we had a lot of fun collecting it. So it was cool to go fully sealed and pressurized.
I know you probably don't have the data in front of you, but how high did the CO2 go?
I don't remember the exact amount, but I remember being surprised that it was not going up as nearly as fast as we thought it would. It was staying pretty consistent. Gilbert and I wrote like a whole report on it that we sent
That
to
was
Kai.
beautiful. That was a beautifully written report.
Yeah, we stayed up late writing that and then made Keston proofread it for us before we went to bed. I remember that the data, we could have gone quite a bit longer. The CO2 wasn't going up nearly as fast as we thought it would, um, which was interesting to find.
Awesome. So outside of what we covered, walk us through a challenging moment at SAM.
A challenging moment. I feel like there was a lot of challenging moments, not in a bad way, just in a and you're dealing with like communication delays too, which I guess we didn't really talk about, but we had the 20-minute delay. So I know like there were some times where I think it was with spirulina harvest, against the last day, maybe when we started it, there was some information that I needed that I couldn't find. And so we had to ask a question, which takes, 20 minutes to get to MCC and then 20 minutes back. And then they didn't have all the information. So then we had to wait a lot longer and it's delaying that whole like harvest process that took a long time. Um, so we were trying to problem solve and figure it out for ourselves as best we could while waiting so that we could be productive at the same time. But there was a lot of moments like that which were challenging, just waiting for information or realizing that you didn't know something that you thought you did.
All right. Chief of staff can mean a lot of things. How do you define the role at ARG or American Public University Analog Research Group, which is a group that you and I belong to? And what problems do you uniquely solve or come across?
So, chief of staff, there's the lead faculty advisor, and our structure is a little bit different right now, but it's me as chief of staff, and I oversee like the media operations, team lead, recruitment, safety, and the training lead. A lot of those team leads, I'm there to support them and check in with them and kind of help them, lead their team and go the route that they want to and make their vision a reality for their team. I kind of see myself as a support, a go-to person just to kind of, you know, um, help take ARG where we want it to go, help lead it in that direction and help the team leads. So I think of myself largely as like a support person. Really, I'm here to help our teams so they can be successful.
Love it. What's your playbook for recruiting, onboarding, and sustaining engagement?
Maintaining engagement is definitely something that we talk about a lot. We get a lot of new members. that come in to be like mission controllers. That's kind of a popular team for people to go to. So we have our two ILMA missions and we have our mission controllers, which are very active during that mission phase, but we also try to get them involved in the planning phase so that they know the crew. And then we have people that come in to be crew members. And so they're part of that full planning process. During that time, it's a lot of just communication and trying to like keep people responding and engaged and getting their feedback. Um, After missions, like post mission, when there's like a little bit of a slump, we have a bit of a break, which is nice. That's where we really try to focus is like what else is going on that people can be involved with. Because we do a lot of really cool things and there's always a lot of opportunities, but we're super active during that like mission phase. But that's only a couple weeks of the year. So we've always got a lot of planning going on. And it's just like, checking in with people, trying to keep them active.
What are some transferable skills from teaching to leading ARG?
Decision making, for sure. As a teacher, you're like constantly making decisions on the fly, being able to plan ahead. A lot of those like executive functioning kind of things that you think of, a lot of planning is really helpful for what I do. And the fact that I have to, as a teacher, I'm taking math and I'm teaching it. I have to create lessons that my students will engage with and hope that they learn something. And so I think, especially where being a special ed teacher helped too, is the ability to take information and try and present it in different ways for different people because we all like learn things differently. And even if you're not
Yes.
actively in school, like for our jobs and anything that we do, we're still learning. And so being able to like change information, how it's presented to make it understandable to somebody else, I think has been really helpful in this position.
It's good. So this is the part where I ask if you want to share anything we've missed, we didn't cover, anything you'd be like, oh, I should have said something about that.
I did think about your challenging times question. I don't know why this wasn't the first thing that came to my mind, but I did think of one that I feel like I should mention. With our EVAs, before the mission started, like we all had our training days and we put the suits on and got used to, well, kind of got used to the pressurized suit and how that felt. And it went okay. But then for my crew, I was the first person to go out on an EVA, which I was nervous about because I tend to be like a nervous, socially anxious person in the first place. So I don't really want to be the first person to do this, but that's okay. And I had felt like okay in the suit during the training days, but then when I went to like put on the helmet, like it's weird because the air is blowing into the helmet so that you can breathe, but then it's like shooting in your face as you're trying to
And
get this
very
helmet on.
loud.
It is loud and it you put that helmet on and then you feel like trapped. And I'm not like a claustrophobic person, but it's just like I want I need to be able to breathe and just kind of panicking. I definitely had like full panic attack. And I was really nervous because we were trying to make sure that like the suit was donned and we're out there on time because the SAM crew was going to be there and we want to be like on time for them. And then I was like delaying things because I was having a panic attack when they were like putting the helmet on. And it was a little stressful. But I will say it was a really cool moment in a sense. Leading up to the SAM mission, we had been doing this awe project as a group, and part of that was like breathing and centering yourself. And so I was like totally panicking, and Gilbert and Keston were like, should we do our awe project breathing? And I was like, yes, I think we should. And so we all stood there for a minute and like just did this breathing together,
Ah,
which
you gave me
was
goosebumps.
right. It was really cool. And I think like one of the moments that I looked back on the most after that, because like how cool that my team could support me like that. And it was just like this really cool like bonding moment. And we're taking what we learned and we're like putting it into practice. And, um, I was able to get the helmet on and the EVA went fine, but it was a little stressful, but a very cool moment to
Amazing.
have with my team.
I'm gonna have to tag Jeff on this video. He'll be so proud, and I'm sure he'll get teary-eyed. All
Yeah,
right.
that was a cool project. I liked
Yeah.
that.
ARG is open to all APUS and AMU students. Where can they find more information about ARG? And where can others in general follow your work or follow you on social media?
So as far as art goes, we have a website that we share with the Space Studies program. Um, I could it's like an acronym to get to it. So um I think it's
I'll link it.
APUSSRP, something like that. But you can go to that website and find us. We also have like LinkedIn. Um, if you type in APUS Analog Research Group, we're on YouTube and Instagram and Twitter or X, whichever you call it. So we have a good social media presence along with our website. As far as myself, I also am on things like Instagram and LinkedIn. If you just look up Laura Reiske, you can find me. But um,
Oh, you got to use
definitely,
your name. Nice.
definitely, if you want to get involved with ARG, you can always reach out via email to apus.arg@gmail.com. So we love to get new people, and it's like it's a cool group. You get to learn so much and get all this like real world experience. I'm super grateful for art and everything that I've gotten from it. So, yeah,
Awesome. Well, Laura, thank you for coming on the show. I appreciate you taking the time.
yeah, this was fun.
If you enjoyed this conversation, please take a moment to follow the Airlock Module podcast wherever you get your podcasts, and please leave a positive review or rating. It really helps the algorithm boost the show so that more people can discover these stories and join our growing analog astronaut community. You can also connect with me on social media, on Instagram, Threads, and on X. If you would like to go one step further in supporting the show, I've set up a Patreon where donations are just $3 a month. Your support helps cover the monthly costs of website hosting, editing software, podcast hosting, and other things that help improve the quality of what you hear. Every contribution goes right back into the podcast. I will also thank every contributor at the end of the show. Thank you so much for tuning in and for being part of this journey. Until next time.